Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today it's Week 11 waiver wire. If you've been holding on to that number one waiver wire pick all year because no one's been any good, hey, you might as well just waste it now, right? There's no one coming. I feel like there's nobody coming down the pipeline here. Do you see somebody here this week, Jeff? That should come interesting, guys. Maybe. Rashaad Penny looked kind of interesting. That's about it. It's kind of
yeah, I mean, any guy that we name here, we've named before. I mean, that's pretty much what it comes down to. There are a few if you're really looking for help this late in the season, but nothing to get too.
I kind of think at this point
worked up about.
I mean, yeah, if you have a guy you need to fill in this week, you're not going to have this amazing option. But this might be more about trying to find that streaming QB or the defense you need to pick up. That could win you games. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. Before we do that, make sure you guys go check us out on Twitter at the FF Prophet or Instagram at Fantasy Football Prophet. Go subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/fantasyfootballprophet. You'd also help support the podcast at patreon.com/fantasyfootballprophet. So, waiver wire pickups for this week. I'm going to say Rashaad Penny, I think, is my number one. But this is very risky because there is obviously the chance that he completely goes to doing nothing again next week if Chris Carson comes back, and you can't predict the Seahawks backfield. It's really, really risky to kind of try to decide what Pete Carroll's going to do next. It's not like Penny didn't dominate the backfield, obviously. He had, same amount of carries pretty much as Mike Davis did. He just did a lot more with it. The only reason this would even, normally if this was just a random player who hadn't done anything all year and he still had the same amount of carries as somebody else, we'd been in the starters coming back next week would be like, it's no big deal. It's a 1 week thing. But this was a first round draft pick. So that's the only reason it makes us think, hey, they want to see what this guy can do. In 12 carries, 108 yards and touchdown, he's definitely worth a pickup at this point. He should be rostered. I'm not saying he's not going to say start him, but he should be rostered. I just don't know what he's going to do after that.
Right. And no one does. I mean, that's the thing. Mike Davis could steal the role. We've seen this go, many different ways. And Mike Davis himself can't be on our list, but because he's already at 45, 0.7%. But yeah, I mean, Rashaad Penny does have an intriguing amount of value for this late in the season, especially what he did last week, what they want to do. They want to give him experience. Seattle's fighting for trying to be relevant. I do. I like him. I think he has to be probably the number one running back pickup for sure. And really, I only have two other pickups for running backs. And to the very next one, Giovani Bernard. He might be in the discussion. He is coming back off the injury. He played a little bit. He was relatively good when he did play. Obviously, I'm not starting him. I think Penny is obviously better, but he would be on my list as well.
Yeah, he's worth the pickup as well, especially if you're a Mixon owner. This is probably the time of year to start handcuffing. If you haven't done it yet, and you're a Mixon owner and Gio's out there, you probably pick up Gio. I say if you're a Gurley owner, pick up Malcolm Brown. There's a couple other players like that out there. I think this is the time to handcuff. So Gio can have some value on his own, but he also has, Mixon goes down with an injury again. Gio is a top guy. He's really good. He's shown that in the past. Maybe. I guess that offense was really bad the other day.
It was really bad. But I mean, back in week 3 and 4 when Mixon was hurt, I mean, he was still only getting 12 and 15 carries, but he was getting the end zone a lot. And that was 14.5 and 21.5 points, respectively. Giovani Bernard got while Mixon wasn't in there. So I like the handcuff idea, especially when you're building out that team.
I mean, there's some other guys that are kind of interesting. Okay, if Frank Gore didn't have a bye week this week, I would say he's a bye week fill-in because of what he's been doing, but he's on bye, so there's no need to pick up Frank Gore going into a bye. He's not somebody that is that worth it, so you can skip him. Elijah McGuire looked pretty decent, but he's on a bye again as well, so I don't really feel the need to pick him up. If this was a normal week, I might say I pick him up and see if maybe he takes over more of the Jets' backfield, but he's not a player that I need to pick up going into a bye. Just not worth it for me. I kind of like Josh Adams over at Philadelphia. He had a 9 for 61 and a 7 for 47. It's not crazy, but that's what? That's over 6 yards a carry both times. If my math is right, it's pretty good. So he's had, in his last 2 games, 16 carries, 108 yards? So if he's a player that starts to get more volume, hey, maybe this is something to look at, because it's not like Wendell Smallwood and Corey Clement are doing anything of, that's worthwhile. Doug Peterson did come out and say Adams should get more carries going forward, and I think he's definitely earned that. So hey, I might look at Josh Adams. I mean, I did just pick him up in our league. Maybe that's why I'm advocating for him, but I think I believe in it, because Smallwood and Clement aren't really any good. They're really not. So, Josh Adams, take a chance. Don't start him yet, but hey, maybe this is one of those guys that is in your starting lineups in week 15 and 16. Like, every year there's one of these guys. Maybe this is the one. I don't know who else it is yet. There's no one else that's come up yet for me that would be that guy. So maybe it's him. I don't really have any other running backs.
No, those were the only other guys that I was thinking of. Adams was my third, and McGuire is on the short list. The only reason I would hold off on him, I'm very intrigued to see how he does. But even when he comes back from the bye, I think another thing you have to look at is the matchup for him. If he had a cupcake schedule, that'd be great. But he goes and he plays at Tennessee and then at Buffalo. I don't know if you're really going to see what he is able to do before you hit the playoffs, and that worries me. But I do think that he is a kind of a stash guy if you can't find anyone else.
Yes, another handcuff player, probably Spencer Ware if you're a Kareem Hunt owner. I'd go throw Spencer Ware on my bench at this point. And, if you have the bench opening, which a lot of people should at this point of the year. He's one of those to probably throw out there. We bring his name up all the time, but hey, might as well. Deontay Foreman, just again, that's one of those players that he should start practice this week, coming off the bye. Lamar Miller didn't look good the last time, so it's another player to maybe take a flyer on. We'll know quickly probably if he's going to do anything, but I like to take the shot. And there's not, the options aren't wonderful out here. Yeah, so I think if Rashaad Penny, if he gets a decent amount of volume, I think he will be pretty good. There's a reason this guy was a first-round draft pick. That just didn't come out of nowhere. What was he? Was he the second running back taken? He was the first one after Saquon? Or pretty close to it, wasn't he? Rashaad Penny?
Yeah.
So he's obviously they saw something they like in the guy. And why not use him a little bit more here? How about wide receivers? You got a number 1 ad for the week?
Yeah and no. I guess the guy that intrigues me the most is Anthony Miller.
Yeah, mine too.
I would probably be him number 1, but it can go any which way. I just think he has the most upside. I would probably grab him. He's on a offense that's doing very, very well. It's hard to tell because everyone did really well last week.
Yeah, and before that, he's not had more than 5 catches in a game. Before this week, his highest yardage was 49. But you could look at it this way and say, hey, he was trending up coming back from the injury. 1 for 29, 2 for 35, 3 for 37, 5 for 49, 5 for 122. He's become more and more and more involved. He's kind of overtaken. Taylor Gabriel is not involved anymore. He was the one that was getting, a lot of those catches. Taylor Gabriel really, did he get anything? I don't even think he got anything the other day. I have to pull up the numbers there. And Gabriel had nothing. He got literally nothing. Anthony Miller's taken away a lot of what Taylor Gabriel was doing. So Miller, again, this was a fairly high draft pick. So I'm intrigued. He might be a rookie that's kind of coming on towards the end of his, rookie year. And he's a good player. I think it's definitely worth an ad. He'd be I don't really know who would be my number 1, if it's Penny or if it's Miller. They're both kind of there for me. It basically just depends on need. I I think Miller is more likely to get some kind of volume, some kind of action. Penny, I think, will too, but it's just there's no guarantee. So I want to go Miller there. I have some other receivers, but there isn't anything that just is a truly standout for me. I mean, I'm kind of interested in now Josh Reynolds, actually, from the Rams with Cooper Kupp out. So, let me pull up some numbers here. The last time Cooper Kupp was out, I think Reynolds had a fairly solid game. He got those 2 touchdowns. He only had 3 catches, but he caught 2 touchdowns. They're not going to just use Cooks and Woods. Reynolds will be involved, but he plays Kansas City this week. That's probably a pretty good matchup. Then it goes to a bye. So I don't see when you play him. You have to be in a deep league to actually play this guy, but I don't know. I don't even know how deep. 14 teams. Who else you got? Maurice Harris? A little interested in him?
Yeah, I still like him. I picked him up in other leagues a week ago. He did fine. He didn't disappear. That was a big test.
Yeah.
So I like him. I think the other guy that you have to look at, even though he is just always letting me down, but I think John Ross, if you're in a deeper league once again, AJ's hurt. He did catch the touchdown. He didn't have volume.
That's okay. With John Ross, that's where I don't know what to do with this guy. So he's done this, a few times on the year. He gets these touchdowns. He's had 3 of them on the year, but he hasn't done anything. 3 for 16 he had early in the year. That was his only 3 catch game. He did that 2 for 52 in a touchdown. I think it was a long touchdown, and 2 for 39 touchdown. Man, I don't know. It's funny. The touchdowns he gets, the 2 of them this year have been like really short ones. Baltimore's not an easy matchup. Man, I don't know what to do with John Ross. I can't even trust it. I know it's worth a shot because this guy was a top pick just a year ago. It just feels like he's never going to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it does.
Early to say that, but usually you can tell pretty quick when he has this little production. But he's the number 2 right now. But can Andy Dalton actually do anything without AJ Green? I don't know if he can. He didn't show me he could do anything last week. But yeah, this is the guy who has the most potential. And so he's intriguing. And I just don't know. I don't know what to do with that. I feel like I've been burned by him in the past by hyping him up a little bit and just got nothing out of him. And don't trust this guy. No one trusts this guy, but I don't even know if I have the potential. He has the potential anymore.
No, I mean, the question, the question here is, who actually would you trust? There's no one that I trust on this list.
I say, if you need a player, let's say this week, you need some points. Let's say you just need points. Okay. You have a bye week and you just need a guy to come in and just score get you 6 points and just know you're not going to get a 0. You probably throw Willie Snead in there. And he's just been, especially if you're in PPR, he's a much more valuable option in PPR.
Yeah.
In because his yardage isn't great.
That's legit.
Yeah. In standard, his yardage isn't great, but he's caught 7 balls twice, 5 a couple times, 6. So he gets catches. So yeah, in a PPR league, he's actually a decent option for just a bye week fill-in. You're probably going to get 5 catches. You might get 5 for 50, but that gives you 10 points in a PPR league. And you feel decent about it if you're really hurting for a player this week. So that's the kind of guy. Yeah, it's not a great standard option, but there's worse. I mean, what are you going to do? People have been taking a chance on like Traquan Smith, who then did nothing last week. And he's not coming on. I'm not going to bring him up for this list even right now. I don't see it. I don't quite see it.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be able to do this, pull myself together to do it. But if I really did just need a few points, especially if I was, say, PPR or something of that nature, one of the safer guys, we're talking about getting you 5 points, remember?
Yeah.
But it's kind of Adam Humphries.
Yeah, I mean,
I know it's like the least like sexy name, but you look at the last 5 weeks, 4 catches for 37, 7 for 76, 8 for 82, 2 for 53. I mean, he had 1 big game in there. He had 2 touchdowns. I don't expect that. But this guy can get you 8 points. Other than that, he could end up with 5, and it's pretty safe.
Yep. Yeah, there's not a lot. There's a lot of players that You can start a bunch of these guys and just hope for something, and somebody might. You never know; they might do something. DJ Moore is still out there with some potential, but he's had 2 weeks where he's done nothing. Yeah, there's a lot of those kind of guys. Mike Williams had a nice 0 last week. He's just not. He's not coming on like I thought he would either. He's just not. He's had basically nothing. He looked good early on in the year. Those first 3 weeks, he looked pretty solid. Then he's just pretty much done nothing since. So, not a lot of other great options here. David Moore, remember a couple weeks ago for Seattle, we thought maybe this is going to be the new guy after he had 3 straight double-digit games, and then he's done nothing the last 2 weeks. But yeah, there hasn't been a lot of guys to just come out of nowhere this year.
No, and I mean, really, I was hoping for Christian Kirk as well. And
it's just not quite.
Oh, man, he almost threw up a 0 last game. And the 2 guys I was really excited about, we're talking about Devontae Parker, gets hurt, probably be out a couple of weeks, and then Des Bryant, which, we've talked about, but he blew his Achilles immediately.
Well, it looks like Brandon Marshall's going to sign with the Saints now.
Yeah, less excited about that. It is. It's just a very difficult place to be right now, especially in this wide receiver range. And that's why Anthony Miller makes the top of our list.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's kind of just, for 40% and below, is very, very difficult out there.
Over at the tight end position, I'm going to recommend absolutely nobody. So move on.
I was going to say, is there anyone whatsoever?
Chris Herndon, if I had to pick one under 40% owned, Chris Herndon maybe. That's about all I could actually see myself recommending.
You want to do Nick Vannett?
I mean,
it's 1 for 8 yards and a touchdown.
I mean, it's a big risk.
Yeah,
it really is. Actually, okay. How about Jeff Heuerman?
Yeah, I was going to say, what about?
He's probably he had a big week before his bye week.
Yeah,
and so we don't know if that's just a 1 week thing or not. So that's probably the one if you're going to look for, a real shot in the dark. Just take a chance on a guy. Maybe that's who you go with. Yeah. Ricky Seals-Jones is actually decent if you need some points because he probably gets targets. Not all. He doesn't do anything much, but yeah, nobody else there at tight end. What about quarterback? Is Lamar Jackson if Joe Flacco doesn't play? Which is no one quite knows right now the injury situation with Flacco. So if Lamar Jackson were to play going against Cincinnati, who just did nothing against the Saints and fired their defensive coordinator after the game, he's been terrible. I mean, is there any scenario where you take a chance on Lamar Jackson without knowing anything?
Yeah, actually, sadly enough, there is. And this is a very big if, right? I mean, you would have to have, I'm trying to think who you would have to have in order to not believe in him. But Lamar Jackson has a lot of upside because of his running ability. And if you can't take him out for Flacco, right? If Flacco isn't benched, if he's hurt, and you don't have any other option, you have to keep chucking the ball or you keep running it. And, as we can see, a running quarterback can make you up a lot of points very quickly. So, yes, but I can't really see a world where I wouldn't have another quarterback I feel just safer with, even if Lamar Jackson maybe has a little bit of an upside. So, I'm trying to think of who would be out or hurt or something of that nature. I mean, if you had Joe Flacco, for some reason you were starting him. Okay, yeah, I guess I don't see a world where someone doesn't have a quarterback that they wouldn't start.
There really isn't many of those are out there, is there?
You'd have to be in a deep league. Or a 2-quarterback league, obviously.
But quarterback-wise, let's look for some streaming options, okay? So this week, Dak against Atlanta. Dak, okay. Much as we don't maybe think the guy is great, his last 4 games, I mean, he's not going to probably kill your week. He's had 33, 22, 18, 23. That's fine. That's pretty decent. And he's going against Atlanta, who has been bad. They really have been pretty bad against quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield just had a pretty good week against them. So Dak's, I think, a pretty decent option. I really do. Okay, if Joe Flacco were to play, going against Cincinnati is actually a good play. It really would be a good play for Flacco if he played.
I mean,
Cincinnati's been really bad.
They have been. I mean, he did put up almost 22 on them earlier this year when they were playing, pretty decent.
Yep.
So, yeah, it probably would be. But, I mean, I guess that comes back to it. If he doesn't play,
See it.
it is
If
Cincinnati.
he doesn't, though, I would see I'd rather...
I'm trying to think who else, though.
Marcus Mariota. He's had a few good games in a row for you. Or you just lost trust. He has not built the trust back with you, has he?
No.
Because he's going to put up one of those 4.2.
Yeah, he actually very much worries me. I know people are going to hate me for saying that. I mean, Dallas and New England, he did well. He got a couple touchdowns. They definitely look better coming out of that bye. They have. And you're going against Indianapolis, who I'm not overly, impressed with defensively. But that would be a selection where I might go Lamar Jackson because I think he has that kind of upside.
We just don't know what he is.
Well, we don't. We have no idea. I'm definitely putting...
He's going to get some run. He's going to get some rushing yards. So he's going to make it, so he's worthwhile.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't see a world where he could play as poorly as Mariota could play.
Yeah.
And we've seen Mariota get less than 10 a lot this year. And I know he's had the last 3 games have been fine. But before that, he was terrible besides for one game.
Yep.
Absolutely awful.
Mm-hmm. All right. I don't really have much more. Fun waiver wire week 11.
Well, actually, no, I keep getting on this Lamar Jackson kick because if you are looking for 40% or under, right? Yeah. Say you're in, I'm going to name a few guys, right? So Eli Manning.
Oh, God.
Would you do Lamar Jackson or Eli?
I would just play Lamar.
Okay. Derek Carr.
Let's see. Derek Carr against Arizona.
7.3, 7.9 last 2 games.
So bad. I'd probably just play Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson's going to get that probably rushing.
Yeah.
God, I probably would.
Marcus Mariota, which is a legit question.
I think I have to go with Mariota.
Go Mariota.
I think he's been playing well enough.
And then obviously Dak. Okay, so that's kind of the line. You would go Dak, obviously.
I would go Dak. Yeah. Okay, Blake Bortles should have a good...
What about Alex Smith? He hasn't been over 20
I would go week 3. I'd go Lamar.
Yeah.
Alex Smith is just...
So it's kind of tough. I mean, I can see a world, but if you don't have, there's got to be, 12, 15 quarterbacks above him. But if those are all taken, I definitely see a world where I would play him.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, man.
And I'm crazy, right?
It's just the unknown is kind of intriguing. He's a dynamic player, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. I hope Flacco's out. I want to see Lamar Jackson and what he can do.
I do too.
So it'd be a good team for him to play. But all right, I think that'll do it, and we'll be back tomorrow. Some more week 11 talk. I can't believe we're already to week 11. This fantasy season has flown by, and I still don't have a playoff spot wrapped up in our main league, but you pretty much do, Jeff.
So, almost.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
It could all go wrong. That'd be just very depressing.
It'd be disastrous.
So I got some work to do, but
yeah.
I don't see any waiver wire pickups to make to help me this week.
No. That'd be very interesting. I'd love to hear from everyone to see where they're at right now, because either you have it wrapped up, or like me, or you have it like Craig, where it is a jumbled mess.
It is.
And he is fighting for his life because there's a few good teams over there in his division. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see. All right. That's it for today. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.